2, 1. They are back live. Hi, guys. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Hi, welcome to Dinosaur Omelet Live on Thursday. Thanks for coming in. Please introduce yourself, ma'am.
I'm Angela.
And my name is Christopher. We are the Dinosaur Omelet, and this is Puffy Chicken.
This is a Silkie.
One of Angela's Silkies. We're going to be talking about Silkies tonight. You can throw her back in the cage. She doesn't want to hold her for too long. We've been playing with chickens for a while. Thanks for coming in, guys. I usually give this thing a couple minutes to start to see if it populates with, any viewers who come in. If you have any questions or comments, whether you're on this live or afterwards, put them in the comment, and we always get to them at some point. And if you have a question about these birds, how we raise them, or what we do to take care of our critters, we'll be happy to answer that.
Yeah.
So, a little bit of stuff for anybody new. So, what's our story?
Our story, like kind of how we got started, sort of?
Yeah, random. Somebody wants to know who we are. What is the most negative thing you can think of about a Silkie? Oh, I have an answer.
What's your answer?
They love to be consumed by hawks. They're predatory victims.
They're very different than standard chicken breeds. The big difference is their energy and temperament. Silkies are very calm, low energy, docile, whereas most other breeds are lively, energetic, and run around.
And can avoid predators.
Yeah, and Silkies, they have a lot of fluff on their face, so it's hard for them to see predators. Above, especially. So the most negative thing is they are predator prone, so you have to keep them safe.
Oh, I can think of another one, actually.
What?
Let's say it's a hunger situation, and I'm looking at my chicken yard, and it's time to make chicken dinner. After you pluck a Silkie chicken, there's maybe a half an ounce of meat.
Yeah.
And then some skin and bones.
They're a miniature breed, so they are not meant for meat.
Yeah. And they don't lay a ton of eggs. They're not an egg breed.
Yeah, they're small.
But we'll talk about crap later. Yeah, so, I mean, it's like subjective. Do you think that's a negative? But it's also a positive.
There's pros and cons to everything.
Well, it's negative that they're low energy because it's hard to avoid a predator, but it's a positive that they're low energy because that's what makes them a good pet.
Yeah, they are known as the best pet breed.
Okay. All right. Vern says, Silkies are of the chicken world the same as quail are to the game birds. Yes, they have a propensity for exploration if they're not careful with the predators. Bow dragon, you need some head. Oh, that's like a vulgar thing. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for stopping in. We do like populated comments. All right, so new people dropping in here. Like Zijan Block. Hi, guys. Just to let you know, down in the description of these videos, I populate it with information. What do you call it? Educational stuff. This is a very good PDF if you guys are looking for, I guess, quail information. Quail are very popular. It's one of the things we specialize in. This thing will tell you how to raise and keep your own quail from scratch. So you don't need to go busting your back learning a ton of information. Yeah. Yes? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Anything else important?
No, I mean, I guess what's your objective?
Our objective tonight is to discuss Silkies. Angela is a resident expert on the Silkie chickens. You've been raising them for a long time. Mm-hmm. So she used to raise them when you were in high school?
Yes, when I was in school.
Alan, everyone subscribe and like the live. Oh, thanks, man. Thanks, Alan. Yeah, so you've been raising them you raised them when you were in school for a while.
Yeah,
right?
It was just for fun.
But you learned skills.
Yes, I did. So I currently raise them. I breed them.
We're looking down because there's a box of chickens on the floor. I don't know how to hold these things too well.
Here, let me set her.
I didn't grab them right.
Proper.
Show them how to hold a chicken properly.
Well.
Did I do it wrong?
I have her wings and her legs. She just got startled when you picked her up. But anyway, so I breed them for pets because families and people love to have them. And as we discussed already, they're calm and just, as far as chickens go, they're like the foo-foo dog of the chicken world because they're tiny, you can hold them, they're soft. But I breed them for pets.
Yeah. What is your favorite part of the Silkies? Oh, you mean like their fluff parts? I don't know. The tails are cool because they're very fluffy in their head, which is exactly a very iconic feature of these birds.
How much fluff she has. But my favorite, I guess not part, but my favorite thing about them is how they're really friendly and calm, and you can just easily pick them up. Like, they won't run from you.
Yeah, they're good with kids.
They'll stay around your legs.
With the little kids, they're not going to scratch or attack like some of the larger breeds. And they're very docile.
And they'll come when you call them, and yeah, they're really good pets.
Yeah. All right, cool. Now, new people. The way we structure these videos, usually we do it education style, and I have an outline, and I guess we'll kind of follow the outline.
Yeah,
it doesn't need to be super precise because it's a little more laid back tonight.
If you wanted to do like the history and stuff.
But we're going to go over different stuff. History of the Silkie, blah, 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 characteristics and considerations of these critters. Special considerations if you're going to try breeding or raising them yourself.
Verna said that I understood the question more.
Okay, so I guess that's that. So we shall begin. So let me go over the history of the Silkie. Now, I have it in a very general way. I never really went very in-depth with the Silkie, except, yeah, they're an older breed. They're kicking around for over 2,000 years. Bred in China, they were a little ornamental breed, and they were traded, I believe. That was like a thing they would trade around, and unfortunately the Silkie in China was used as what?
Well, they were an ornamental breed, and you know that they're pretty and like pets and stuff, but they also had like medicinal purposes because of the strange feature that they have, like a dark blue, some people would say black, but it's like a dark blue skin, their skin, and it's not like normal chicken color.
These were luxury pets. They were luxury chickens. And yeah, they had medicinal properties. In fact, I'm seeing a quack and he prescribed 2 Silkies for back pain. He said, eat 2 a week and you should be clear.
Yeah.
I don't trust this guy.
So they did that.
But they were used, like a lot of things. People have misunderstandings about unusual creatures as to what they're going to do. So yeah, it's like 2,000 years old. And guys, all the chickens that we keep, they are of the same species. They're Gallus domesticus. They are bred from the Gallus. Gallus, I always talk about this guy. That is the red jungle fowl in, where is he living in? I want to say Indonesia. Is that right? I'll say it like an American. Down there. So the Gallus is where all the modern chickens were bred from, kind of like all of our modern dogs come from one species, an origin species of wolf. And they are of the same species, all the dogs. Okay, but there's many breeds. The same with chicken. There's many breeds of chicken, and the Silkie is a particular breed of chicken. And they do get crossbred with frizzles and other breeds. People do hobby breeding.
They'll cross a Silkie with like a standard feathered chicken, and they'll get different things. There's like a satin Silkie, and it has the smooth feathers, but still the fluff on the head, but it's like a smooth feathered look, and then feathers on the legs. They look really pretty, but it's not that fluffy look. And then also there's the frizzle, where they just look like their feathers are crimped, and they're kind of going all wonky different directions. Yeah, but that's not a pure breed Silkie.
It's not a recognized, what do you call it? What is the chicken breeding association? It's not an official breed.
Yeah.
But I mean,
but people they really focus on them. There's like breeders who, that's what they do, and they produce really pretty ones. Yeah.
So that was a little segue. So yeah, the Silkie was bred as an ornamental breed about 2,000 years ago, and still very, very popular today in the United States. There's a Bantam, which is a smaller size, which Angela has.
Which is what this size is. Bantam means mini. It's a mini. There's lots of Bantam chicken breeds. So there's like a lot of different looks.
So that's a Bantam.
Yeah,
Bantam. Is that how you pronounce it? I sometimes say Bantam. So they're smaller chickens, but they're very docile, you see?
Yeah.
And the reason I said they're predatory prone at the beginning of this thing is their haircut kind of blinds their eyes, so they can't look up so easily, right?
Yeah, they can see and are comfortable in their familiar areas, but yeah, they're not as aware of their surroundings.
But they're very docile, good little critters. Ugh, and that's Angela's specialty breed. All right, So I'm going to let you take over because you're very brilliant with all of this stuff. Oh, wait, we'll talk about the Silkie being introduced in the U.S. How long have they been in the U.S.? Early 19th century. So since the early 1800s.
Yeah.
Little house on the prairie had a little house full of Silkie chickens.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now I shall let you talk because I talk too damn much.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to talk about, and I'm talking now, but I'm introducing
It's okay.
the key physical features and considerations of our beloved Silkie chicken.
Yeah. So, so the feathers. Here, let me grab
That's the
another one
important
again.
part. I think that's. Hey, Taco, what's going on?
Sorry.
Now, why does she flap her wings?
Yeah, so she was flapping her wings because she felt unbalanced. I wasn't holding her in a way that felt snug and secure like she is now.
So
she
it's
feels
not
stable.
skittishness
Yeah, she's
or scared.
She's
She's just unstable.
It's also because she's suddenly in a different environment. Oh, sorry, here out of the screen. She's suddenly in a new environment as well, so she's kind of more unsure. Like she's in a new room and we're yapping really loud.
Yeah.
So this is like a sudden change.
Stressor.
So, but yeah, generally, if you have them snugly contained, but not squishing them, and they feel balanced, their wings, you have their wings controlled, and their legs kind of too, then they'll calm down. So, the feathers, you can see that the wing feathers, have like a tattered, you can see on the edge there, like it's like a tattered edge on it, but it's still not even like a standard chicken feather.
So the tattering, that's not poor breeding or bad feathers. That's just how it looks naturally in that breed.
Yeah, and then the rest of the feather is just this like really soft fluff. And the reason, do you want to talk about the...
Sure, yeah. So now the feathers, it's made of the same material as any other chicken feather. It's a keratin. It's a type of protein. But the structure, and you can see it a little more in the wing, the way it's held together.
Mm-hmm.
So the structure of a feather coming off of the main shaft, at the end of these little hairs are these tiny hooks called barbicels, and they kind of like link, like a zipper almost, to the other like little hooks. Strand of fuzzy feathering.
On a standard feather.
On a standard feather, they have what's called a barbicel. They're like little hooks, and it's like a zipper structure for every section of those little feathers. It's microscopic, but it holds the structure of the feather, where these guys, they do not have it, so they look like Muppets.
Yeah, so that's why if you're holding a single feather, it has its firm shape, and you can run your fingers along it. It'll keep the shape. If I were to, take a feather out of her and hold it, it would just look like a fluffy thing that has no structure. So they lack the barbicel, which is what you were...
It's like it's a little hook at the end of the structure.
I'm going to put her down since she's getting a little warm with my body heat. But, yeah, so their feathers don't have that.
So with the feathers is the issue, somebody might be wondering, are they susceptible to cold, rain, and all these other issues?
Yeah, that's a good question.
The feathering, what's the difference between the feather with this chicken that I should be aware of versus a standard chicken feather?
So Silkies, just like other chickens and even like ducks, they will preen themselves, and they have like a gland at the like the base of their tail, and they'll it has like an oil that they'll put in their beak, and then you'll see them preening their feathers and cleaning their feathers. However, because the Silkies feathers are so different from like standard chickens can be out in the rain, and you'll see the water. If they're in the rain, you can see the water like run off of them. And the other breeds, they tend to more quickly take cover and make sure they're like out of the rain. Silkies, they're like, how you have outdoor jackets where it says it's rain resistant but not waterproof. Yeah. And you'll be like, then you think, it's going to stay dry, but it's not waterproof. So you wear it, you'll see the kind of the water forming on your sleeve, and then all of a sudden, after a little bit, it's soaking. Yeah. So that's kind of how Silkies are. They're a little resistant with the water, like a mist or a light rain, but if they're in it, if they stay in it, then they're going to get saturated. So their feathers don't protect them from like a heavy rain or constant rain.
So if I keep silkies and I see it's raining, are they smart enough to take shelter?
Um,
No.
Mature silkies are generally, and older pullets. So a pullet in the chicken world is a female chicken that's young but close to laying age. So the older that they are, getting out of that juvenile stage, then they're more clever at getting out of the rain. Otherwise, sometimes they'll just stand in the rain,
Yeah.
and you have to make sure if they don't have a cover over their run, you have to make sure to go and scoot them in, or just make sure they have a nice cover. Now they're really good with the cold temperatures as well because they're very well insulated. But just like other animals, other birds, you'll want to just make sure, again, they're out of the harsh elements, like not in the snow, not like being snowed on or rained on or anything like that, that they have cover, shelter, and then also a buffer from harsh winds. So the cold temperatures, they do just fine, but you just want to make sure that there's a place that they can get out of harsh winds. The heat, they do pretty well with the heat, but again, they will need to have shelter from direct sunlight. They'll need to be able to get into the shade and have a well-ventilated area.
Yeah.
So it's pretty normal, standard chicken care.
Now, I have a feather question. Oh, by the way, if we lose you, it's currently very windy out.
Yeah.
So we could lose our electric.
Yeah.
But I have a silky question.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody has a customer or just somebody has Silkie as a pet.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, you guys, if you do get Silkies, it's not necessarily true that they're all docile.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, bad breeding.
That's true to the breed. So SOP.
True to the breed that they're docile.
Yeah, you might hear people say the letters SOP when talking about breeding programs about whatever animal that it is, but that means standard of perfection for the breed. So any breed of animal or creature or whatever, plant even, that you're breeding, you have the standard of perfection of what that animal, that bird, the chicken, the silkie is supposed to look like. And there's all sorts of very specific specifications as far as the height, the length of the back, the form of the tail, the head position, the feathering, and the temperament is a big thing. And so people enjoy, peeps, hatching chicks, because it's super cute, it's so fun.
And they make the
peep
noise.
They're adorable.
The squeaky sound.
And so a lot of people might just breed them for fun and then sell them without any intentional breeding. And you can get a real mix mash of what silkies end up looking like, and this is with any breed, what they look like and what their temperament is like. And you could stray away from that calm temperament, that docile, friendly demeanor that they have. And so some people will tell us like, oh, I got silkies, from whatever store, and
Craigslist or something.
They were like bullies, or they were really mean, and they're not supposed to be like that. They're supposed to be very sweet.
Yeah, so we've done a lot of videos about breeding and hatching, and one of the things we talk about is, of course, not just breeding, or not just reproducing, but properly breeding animals where you're intentional, with the outcome. So you're monitoring the animals. So if you're getting a random chicken from somebody or from a hatchery, they're, they may not have very scrutinizing themselves on their standards. You might get one of those mishmash chickens. Yeah. Any kind of breed, it could have bad temperament. And the same with the silkies. Silkies generally are very docile, but that was a lot of words to say. Be careful if you're getting a silkie. You want to get it from somebody who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to my question about feathers. What the hell was I going to ask? Oh, let's say I'm a pet owner and I have a pet silkie, and it rained and they got dirty and muddy.
Or maybe they were eating from a watermelon rind and their face is
covered in sugar,
all dirty and.
Are they okay, or can you clean them? Should I just wait for them to get dry and clean naturally? What do I do?
Now, they will eventually clean themselves up with when they do their dust baths and stuff. And their preening, they over time will become pretty clean again. But yes, you can clean them. You can kind of spot clean them. if you want, you know, just with in a sink, just very careful to not get water in, you know, in their eyes, nose, and ears. Make sure it's a lukewarm, comfortable temperature of water, and yeah, you can either bathe them completely like you would.
So you can give them spa treatment.
A small dog, yeah, or you can just wash certain spots. But it is important to. I do advise using a hair dryer, being careful with the heat. So either use the cool setting if the room temperature is really warm, or making sure it's far enough that the chicken doesn't get too hot. But to dry at least the feathers that's close to the skin. And then the outer feathers, if you don't want to finish drying them, they can dry on their own, as long as they're in a temperature controlled area.
Washing your chicken, be careful of burning them too.
Yeah, just overheating them too. Yeah.
So do they like the blow dryer? I see you blow drying chickens occasionally. They look happy.
Yeah, some of them really do enjoy it. And if you do it, you know, once in a while, they'll just sit there. They do like the attention. They do bond easily with their people because you're their flock mates. So they can easily bond with you. So it's kind of like a, you know, time together, you and your Silkie, if you do that, and, you know, with the drying and stuff.
Yeah, they're good critters. They recognize you. They become accustomed to you, like any kind of creature you spend time around. Mm-hmm. But they're fun.
It is true that sometimes, because their feet are so feathered and fluffy, that sometimes they might get some clumps of dirt attached to their feathers. So just keep an eye on that.
Yeah, that's important. So Silkies have feathers on their feet. Mm-hmm. Most chickens do not.
Yes, some breeds do, but yeah. And then also around their rear end, their rump, make sure that stays clean too, because of course there's just fluff everywhere. So it's kind of like a foo-foo dog, but in the chicken world.
Yeah, we keep looking down, and they're probably like, "What are you looking at?"
Oh, careful.
Okay, I'm good with chicken holder.
I'm
not.
Yeah, well, don't. Yeah, they don't.
They don't like being turned upside down and stuff.
Yeah, so sometimes people will have some chickens that are super docile, and they'll flip them up over on their back like you would a baby, and then the chicken will kind of like calm down and like, oh look, she likes it. They're falling asleep, because they'll start closing their eyes. Yeah, it's actually difficult for them to breathe. Yeah,
their lungs are structured very different. A chicken's lungs and respiratory system is very different from a human. They don't have a diaphragm, so they can't hold that, you know, that structure open. They rely on gravity. So when you hold them upside down, it kind of squishes their innards.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh no. Is that crap on me? No.
No, you're okay. But yeah, so keep them upright as much as possible.
Yeah, what else about their breathing? Well, we can talk about the respiratory issues later. They don't have them, but just to be careful with keeping any chicken healthy. So anything else about the feathers that should be noted? I mean, we talked about, I think the last thing is you can give them haircuts.
Yeah, so...
we do give them haircuts.
Yeah.
Why do we give them haircuts?
So people will think like, well, they have so much fluff. Some of them have more fluff than others around their face, and some people will think, well, like, can they see at all? Well, they can see, because obviously they move around, they find their food and their water, and they interact with each other. But especially if they're in an area that they're used to, they're accustomed to, they're familiar with, they can see through all that fluff. It's not, you know, obviously super clear vision, but they see enough where they're confident. Now, if you get a new Silkie to either add to your flock, or you're getting a new Silkie, or you're moving your existing Silkie to a new area on your property, I do recommend, or you're adding a Silkie that you have to some other chickens.
Are you discussing their health?
No, I'm talking about the feathers. And they're meeting new friends, and you're doing the transition period of putting, you know, two birds together. You're gonna want to. I would recommend trimming around their eyes so that they can see much easier, more clearly, because in a stress type transitional state, where they're moving from one location to a new location, or from one pen to a different pen, or they're meeting new birds, it's important for them to see as well as possible, and it'll make them more alert, it'll make them more confident, they'll explore the area more and find the food and water, or stay away from other flock mates that maybe aren't as accepting yet. So yeah, that would be the one thing.
And it helps them recognize everybody. Do they recognize like that visually? Like the
they
other,
are visual,
for the pecking order, do they recognize
so
visually?
Yes. The reason why I'm thinking is because I've experienced different roosters of varying colors, like a black rooster or a blue rooster or a white rooster. Sometimes they favor certain hen colors, and I see them not favor particular ones that are of the same color that they're all, anyway. But the hens in general, they know the vocal sounds, the voices of each other, and their big thing is hierarchy. So they're going to just make sure that they establish where they are in the hierarchy and that the other ones know.
Yeah. So that's awesome stuff. Okay, cool. And again, guys, if you're watching, if you're doing this live or afterwards, if you have a question, put them in the bottom. All right, cool. So we talked about feathers. I think we did quite a bit on feathers.
Yeah.
Okay, the structure, I think the main thing was, remember that magical word barbicel? Barbicel. It's a little hook structure on the end of those little squiggly things that are flying everywhere, the feathers. They should be linking together, but they don't because they lack that structural hook to give them that shape. All right, moving on, we're going to talk about temperament and behavior, and we went over most of that. Temperament, they're very docile if they're bred correctly. Their behavior is, they're social.
Yeah.
They're social critters.
Yes, they are social.
They like to party with their friends.
Yes, yep, they are social, just like people are social, and yeah, they like to be in a flock, whether, you know, that's a couple birds or a lot of birds. They like to be like the shaving cream.
What did I say? I guess about giving them a haircut.
Oh, yes.
We have such a delay.
Yeah, we do have a
over
delay
here.
with the comments.
It's like, what, 5 seconds or so? So we got to remember 5 seconds in the past. What was I talking about? Oh, Barbicel.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like Barbasol, but it's Barbicel. 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 That's that hook structure we were talking about.
Yeah, so they are very social. And what was I going to say about that? Oh, if you...
Don't keep them alone.
Some people are thinking, well, can I have them with other breeds? And you can. You just have to make sure that the other breeds... Usually the other breeds are larger, but sometimes people have other Bantam breeds, which are small mini chickens. You just have to make sure that their temperament is a friendly, calm temperament that will mix with the Silkies. Because Silkies, because they're calm, low energy, and different, they tend to be bullied.
So when introducing the new birds, and there's a video, we did a video here about introducing new chickens. So if you want to know a whole breakdown, please go watch it, because I don't want to spend an hour talking about it. But when introducing a Silkie, let's say, to a new patch of chickens, I noticed immediately they're chasing and they're running. Is this because they're just new in the environment? Are they establishing pecking order? Or is it perhaps a bad chicken combination and they need to be separated again at some point?
Well, can you give more detail on chasing and running?
Oh, I put my Silkie into the pen, and I noticed one of the other chickens chasing him around and running him off from the already established group. Is that something they'll acclimate, or is that a concern?
So the existing flock, they establish their territory, which is the space they're in, and also they have an existing hierarchy. So that's like an established rank, and somebody's at the top, and then they all file down, and then that shifts here and there, but everybody kind of understands where they are. When you add a new one, that one's not yet inserted into this hierarchy, and the other ones are going to want to assert themselves. So we do recommend when adding new chickens to an existing flock, put foreign objects in the space, like a board sideways that's safely, upright, a chair, maybe an upside down bucket that's weighted.
Just for hiding?
Just a lot of different foreign objects, and the point is the existing flock, this is going to kind of like, this is going to confuse them. They're going to be like, what is this stuff in our space? They're going to be clucking and kind of fussing over these things.
So it's like a new environment.
So it's a distraction for them. It's just like it just disrupts their thinking, their focus. So then you can add new birds, and the new birds won't know anything is different. So they're just going to go in there, and then the existing flock will be focused on these distractions and won't notice the new birds. Just leave the items in there for a couple days, and then usually it's just a real smooth way to introduce birds to an existing flock, and then have more than one feeder. But that helps because yes, so it is normal for chickens to go beeline right for the new chicken and harass them or
okay, that's normal then.
That is normal.
Okay.
But you want to kind of discourage it as much as you can, as far as it's okay if they do it in spurts.
But if it's persistent, like I've noticed the whole week, they're still chasing and pecking at him.
That's really not good. It's very stressful.
I mean, we've had people. So Angela breeds very nice silkies, and she finds homes for these nice little critters. Mm-hmm. Have you had people call and say they just won't integrate? Have you had anybody call about that?
I usually talk pretty well with them before they get a silkie, and they ask questions, and so then people who have chickens where they feel they know they're chickens, so they know they are a little more bossy or dominant, so then they'll either opt to put the silkies in their own little pen or get new friends for the silkies.
Oh. Verna had a great question. I like that. Mm-hmm. Is there a particular time of day that you would add a new bird?
So generally people will add new chickens at night. They'll put them in the coop at night because they can't see in the dark, and it's just like kind of an easy, quick way to put them in the coop at night, as long as there's not like a light.
I guess it's like when you live in an apartment. You got a new neighbor. You didn't really notice. You're like, has that guy been here before?
So then they'll exit. Pecking. Yeah, in the morning, and then they just kind of because they could hear them talking and stuff, clucking at night. So then they just kind of acclimate kind of quick. The thing with silkies though is, because they're
lovers,
they're
not
just
fighters.
not alert and energetic. So if you put them in the coop at night with that same method, what will happen is you'll open the coop in the morning, your existing flock will just run out, and the silkies will just stay in there because they won't know how to get out. They'll just be like, where am I? You might even have to push them out, and then it's going to be like you just added them, because they're coming out not with everyone. They're coming out separate, and then they can be picked. The other chickens will notice them. She
says she did it with Quail, just like I used to do with my quail, says Miss Berna. I would add new ones to the cages at dusk.
Yeah, and that is good because the birds, they're in a more calm state, already. So yeah, you can do that. But I do recommend, particularly with silkies or any other breed of chicken that is just maybe because like Polish chickens are like any breeds that tend to be bullied or are maybe more delicate. I would you can do it at night, but add random items to the run so that it just disrupts the flow for everyone, makes it easy.
Very cool. Anything else interesting about temperament and behavior that we should mention? No, I think we covered. Very calm birds have a tendency to be the ones that get picked on.
Yeah, because they're
docile.
Yeah, they're docile. They're not very super dominant.
I mean, we're looking down constantly because there's a bucket of chickens just sitting here quietly.
There. Yeah.
I mean, they're just sitting.
In an open bin.
Oh, but a lot of people keep them as house chickens.
Yeah, some people do.
Because they're so docile. Mm-hmm. They're not running all over the place. They wear house chicken diapers.
Yeah, there's chicken diapers.
So that's something you could do.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on. So we talked about their feathering, their legs and feet. I guess we mentioned their skin is black. Mm-hmm. And their flesh is bluish.
Yes, yeah.
That's why they're medicinal.
Dark color.
Well, they're not really medicinal.
Well, no, that's a superstition.
Their temperament is docile, etc. Most Bantam breeds tend to be more aggressive than the Silkies.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's interesting. I know.
Napoleon syndrome in chickens, as they call it.
That's funny.
Like small.
I know with Polish chickens, they're like hyper, like super hyper and like running around a little neurotic.
Yeah.
So that's different temperament, but they're like real small, and they can get picked on because they have a really big crest of feathers, and it's really crazy and cute. But they look different than the other chickens.
Cool. I think this might be one of the last things we may be discussing because there's really not too
I
much
don't know
in
if you
here.
want to look at this.
Well, I want to talk about the health issues. Are there health issues? You know, with some breeds of animal, like, you know, big dog syndrome, I always call it. You breed these dogs that get really big and they have hip problems or cardio issues. So that's a consequence of the breeding, outcome of that breeding, right? Or could be.
There is something.
So are there concerns like genetically that these may be predisposed to? And then I'll talk about contagions. But are there genetic issues that a Bantam Silkie might be predisposed to?
Not that I'm aware.
Okay. And you've never really had any
No, I haven't
Like,
had any issues.
genetic issues?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just like any breeding program, and even with the quail, like you remove defects. If anything pops up in a line, you remove that from your breeding line and make sure you're keeping the healthiest, most vibrant animals.
Can you get one? Because they're just sitting here and we keep looking down at these birds.
Yeah.
They're not moving.
So I would
They're not
say,
moving because they're docile.
Yes. So, and that kind of goes right into my thing I'm going to say. So, because...
Beak. You
feather.
can hardly see the beak because he's all black.
Yeah. So, because they're so calm, because they're calm, sometimes people don't notice if they've become ill. So
Quite true. Lethargy is a big sign in a regular chicken.
a lot of different illnesses, respiratory illnesses, coccidiosis. A big, factor is the chicken will become lethargic or just, not eating or interacting as much. But these guys, you can see how she's just sitting here. Like the other one's just sitting there. They don't, they're just not as hyper. So you might not notice a decrease in energy until they're too ill to help them recover. So it is important to know your birds, to know their habits, to watch them and know like, okay, yeah, they mill about, they usually consume a certain amount of food. It's important to handle them. I would say at least once a day, so you can feel their body, you can feel that they're not losing weight. And you can feel the crop, like she's very full, like she feels like she's got a golf ball in her crop, 'cause she stuffed herself earlier today.
Crop. Sorry, I should tell them. If you guys don't know much about chickens, if you're watching it, when a chicken consumes food, they have a pouch right about here called a crop that holds the food they just took in. There's moisture being added. It begins to ferment the food a little bit before it goes down to their gizzard.
So yeah, it's important.
Hold on, I forgot. And if you're interested in more, I have a fabulous video. Was it a live video? We did chicken biology or anatomy
Digestive
and the digestive tract. It's actually really good because it went over
Yeah.
some interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Anywho,
So I'm gonna set her down because she's getting warm from my body heat, and it's warm in the room, so I don't want her to get too warm and uncomfortable. So let me set her
if
down for
your
a second.
Silkie is healthy, they should be laying about this many eggs every day or two. Boom, 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 boom.
Like shooting them out.
Dum, 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 dum. Yeah.
No, so
What is their favorite treat? She said. Oh, well, let's get back. Hold on. So,
Yeah.
how many eggs do they lay? And these are a little filthy because
well,
they came straight
let
from
me
the yard.
finish about the energy. and
Okay,
the
then we'll talk about
potential
eggs.
sickness. So it is, especially with silkies, it's important to handle them, make sure that they're not losing any weight and they're okay, because you want to notice if at any point they get ill for some reason. Respiratory illnesses is common with birds because of the type of breathing. What would you call it? The respiratory system.
Oh, yeah, they're high rate
different.
of respiratory system and the way their lungs are structured.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then living on the ground, they could be exposed to coccidiosis.
The number one way to prevent respiratory illness in your chickens is just to keep a clean coop.
Clean
Just
coop and
like-
well ventilated.
Just like humans, wash your hands, stay clean, and you're going to keep most of the infectious pathogens away. So keep clean coop
And well ventilated.
and well ventilated.
Yep. But yeah, so that's the main thing I would say health-wise is with other bigger breeds, you'll notice a change in their energy quickly because they're just more energetic. And because they're bigger, there's more time really to treat them. The Silkies being low energy, not moving around so much, you might not notice if they catch something. And then being that smaller body, kind of like Quail, it's a little, they might not be as well able to handle an illness necessarily if it goes along too far for them. So it's very important to catch illnesses as soon as possible and treat them if you need to treat them for these guys so that they can have a full recovery, no issue.
All right, before we go on to more fun disease talk, Verna asked, what is the favorite treat of the Silkie chickens? She asked that a while ago.
Yeah, they're very similar to other chickens. So the mealworms, fruit, the watermelon rinds.
They had fun with this past summer. We caught a big thing of minnow fish. Remember the minnow fish? I made a video of our minnow fish, the Silkies attacking the minnow fish. They like them because they're flopping around. But that's a rare treat that requires, you know, hand catching from the rivers. But yeah, like little scraps of stuff. You got to be careful whenever you're feeding a chicken table scraps, though. Some of the stuff's really could be dangerous, like onions, avocados, a couple other like green tomatoes and some other things.
But yeah, just like you would feed any particular treats to other breeds, these guys would go, you know, get excited and be happy to eat as well. Yeah.
Okay, what was my other? So I mentioned the eggs earlier. So a sign of sickness, of course, maybe. I don't want to say sickness. It could also be nutrient deficiency and some other things.
Yeah, or stress.
If they're to stop laying eggs.
Or molting.
But how many eggs do they actually lay?
So a standard laying breed that people are familiar with would lay, you know, anywhere from 200 to 300 eggs a year per hen. So you're going to be getting, like, for a healthy age of laying for a chicken, usually you're getting like 5 eggs a week, maybe 6. The Silkies, they lay like 180 eggs per year per hen, and that's them being smaller. It's they're not bred for production. First off,
and then, Silkie eggs. So this is a Bantam Silkie, so it's very not big. I used to use my head.
There's a standard one right here.
Okay.
Show the difference.
We're gonna standard egg and a Silkie egg to show you. Oh, damn it. Going crack?
Yeah.
In the fridge. Sorry, getting eggs for demonstration. Standard, large chicken egg from our black Australorps, right? And then Silkie, Bantam. I'm trying to get the light.
Yeah, they're definitely smaller.
Definitely smaller. I guess like.
But it's bigger than a quail egg for sure.
A little bit bigger. I mean, I don't know. I've seen quail eggs close to that.
Well, the really big ones. So, Silkies, they go broody. That's a Silkie thing. And there are other breeds that do this too.
What is broody?
Broody is they want to be a mom. Essentially is what that basically comes down to. They're
exceptional broody birds. They're broody laying on eggs, right?
Yeah.
They're very good at this.
They will go broody whether they have eggs under them or not. It's just part of the way they are. So they'll maybe, it depends on the hen. Some hens will go broody once a month. Some will go like every 2 months, every 2.5 months. And then the duration is also different. So some of them, it will be a couple days in a row, they're broody. Some will be a week. Some will be even longer, like 2 weeks.
Well, if they're broody, isn't that good? They're just going to be laying eggs all day?
They're not laying any eggs. So what they're doing... What generally happens with a bird when they're going to hatch young out, you know, it doesn't matter what kind of bird it is, they'll lay their eggs and then they'll get ready to sit on their eggs. So with the purpose of hatching them. So then when they sit on the eggs, they stop laying new eggs because now they're going to be tending to these eggs. So then they sit on it, you know, day after day after day to incubate them. Now the Silkies, they'll stop laying eggs as well, and they'll just sit. But it doesn't matter if there are no eggs underneath her; she's still gonna sit. It's such an instinctual thing for them. You could put a potato underneath them, and they'll sit on the potato, or nothing. So,
We use the silkies to hatch what?
Yes,
Duck eggs.
We did do that. So they'll hatch their young out. They'll hatch other birds out.
A common question I hear, and I wanted to do this as an experiment. Will they hatch quail eggs?
They probably will. I would recommend, if you want to put quail eggs, I would recommend adding something else as
Bigger.
well. Maybe as long as the other item doesn't crack the quail eggs. But yeah, just so that it's something more familiar.
It's gonna be one of my experiments. I have some chicken experiments I'm working on. I think silkies hatching.
Yeah, because they'll sit on a rock.
Find one of the useless silkies that you don't care is not laying, and put that one on broody detail.
Mm-hmm. But if you're not going to be hatching chicks, if you're not going to have that hen hatching chicks, it is important to discourage being broody, because she is not going to be tending to herself as well as if she were not broody. She's not going to be eating as much. She's just going to be sitting a lot, especially if it's summertime, because then she'll be in the coop and she might get hot and she'll stay in there. So I do recommend either putting her in a different area altogether where she can't go into a coop, or locking her out of her coop. Because it'll help break her of the broodiness faster.
Is that stressful or damaging to them?
It's a stress on their body to be broody. But you mean locking them out? Some really determined mothers to be will get a little upset, fussy if she's locked out, but they get over it. Sometimes they'll end up going to someplace in the run and create a new nest, so you might have to move her.
All right. Verna asked a good question. How many grams on average are the silky bantam, the smaller silky eggs?
The eggs. I'm not sure. I've never measured them. I've never weighed them.
Yeah. So you weigh the quail eggs.
Yeah, but the density and everything's different. The albumin amount is different with the chicken egg.
So the egg structure is different than quail eggs.
Yeah.
So the answer is, rather than lying and making up a number, we will say, not sure. Or
Yeah,
I
would say it's definitely more than like 24 grams, but I don't know because I've never ever weighed them, but I've weighed a lot of quail
that'll
eggs.
be something we have to do. Now I feel like we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so any other issues with health? I mean, they're susceptible to the illnesses any other chicken is susceptible to. Anything particular with the silkies? I guess too, getting wet.
Yeah.
In the rain.
Yeah, the
freezing weather.
Yeah, just make sure they have shelter from the elements, the rain, wind, snow. But they're okay in the different temperatures as long as they're
if you guys are wondering about chicken illnesses, again, we have a video we did on that. We did a long form education on common chicken or poultry illnesses. Coccidiosis and other parasites, etc. All right, cool. Health concerns and blah, blah. I was going to talk about breeding, but that's going to be a whole big thing. Anything special about housing? I mean, housing, again, just with any chicken, particularly these guys, is the ventilation. What were you going to say?
They don't necessarily roost like other chickens do. Some silkies will roost up on a roosting bar, but you'll want to make sure the bar is lower because they're not as, athletic. So
we'll find out, Verna. She said she would still be interested.
Yeah. So yeah, if you have a roosting bar, just make sure it's not super high. Otherwise, they pretty much sleep in a big pile of fluff. Yeah, they just snuggle up together. So that would be winter-wise. You definitely want to make sure you have a couple of them so that they can snuggle together, because that will help them stay warm.
Yeah, just be sure, and they don't need a heater in the winter. You have a few silkies in there, they're going to huddle up. And you have, what do you call it, straw. Yeah, just add extra bedding along the edges of the interior of the coop, just for insulation. Add more bedding on the bottom. Yeah, I was always going to say is predator-proof, like with anything else. Because, gosh, you hear people have their silkies and they're sad because they get eaten. Yeah. Because something gets into the coop. Yeah, so definitely take care against hawks, bird of prey, and then the fox, raccoon, the minks. Yeah, if they can break into the coop,
then the Silkies are usually the first to go. Or if you're free ranging them, just letting them out for the day, hawks will take advantage. And then the Silkies are first to go. So make sure you're watching them and you have, protection for them.
Okay, I think that does all that. I mean, that was about a good hour of information on silky chickens.
Yeah.
Do you want to pick one up for the least goodbye? I will pick it up, but they don't like me so much.
Sure.
Oh, you're good at picking these birds up.
Well,
So this one has a little silver in the neck?
Yeah, she's black and then has silver all the way around her neck. This isn't like a standard, typical color. These two are for sale, in case anyone local is interested.
Show them the feet if you guys didn't see. I don't know if you can see that. So the feet are covered. Oh, and how many toes do they have?
They have one extra one. 5?
Yeah, they have
5.
So they have one extra toe, and their feet are covered in fur or
feathers.
So in the mud, they can get clumped up and they can get dirty. So you want to monitor their feet, make sure they don't have anything just clinging in there and stuff.
Yeah, in the bedding you
have. Oh, thanks, Taco.
You might want to have like sand or just some sort of bedding or material on the ground that's different than dirt. Because they act like chickens. They're going to scratch and peck. Oh. So the feathers will break and not look as pretty.
There was something I forgot to mention. I'll mention it real quick. Oh, I just love them, says Taco. This was great. Thanks, Verna. Yeah, the last thing I forgot to mention is these chickens. They have so because of their feathering and the structure of their feathers, they need a little more protein, methionine.
That's true. Yeah.
And a lysine and a little extra protein because of the keratin in their feather structure. Angela feeds a fermented. We have our own grain. We mix our own grain. And where's my grain thing? I always love showing it. I like doing drawings. I'm an art guy, and I like to draw. Angela does art, too. She's a very good artist. But anyway, so we make our own grain. So we give them whole grains, but we ferment them all. By the way, I just put up a how to ferment video that Angela did.
We did together.
But we ferment the fermented grains.
Yeah, so fermenting, it's just like...
Healthy food
is probiotics, is what it is. It's as good for the birds as it is for us to eat probiotic foods, that gut health. It affects your whole self, your whole body, your immune system. So with them, if you're fermenting, you can ferment any feed that you're using, but it's going to enrich the food even more with a nutrient density. And then it's going to give them a robust immune system, so they'll be more vibrant, more healthy, overall in general. So it's really good. So I did want to mention with Silkies, their protein needs are, Christopher just mentioned, are a little higher. Standard layer breeds, usually you'll see the foods are like 17% protein. I do recommend for Silkies, the adults, to have them on like something like 18 to 20% protein. And it's because they're different type of feathering. But also because they do go broody as much as they do, that's taxing on their body. So that extra protein is just going to really keep them, optimal health. Now, if you have chicks, you're going to want to have the protein around like 21-22% for that growth. But,
And Verna asked, do we ferment our quail feed? No, we don't actually. Not the quail feed. So the quail, we got... I guess 9 hutches. Yeah. And there's 9 aren't all occupied right now, but I guess the way we feed them, it would be too labor intensive.
The type of feeders we use wouldn't work for us to use a wet food. It wouldn't. We use a J feeder, and the fermented food would not go down.
We got a million at the birds.
But yeah, so just.
But you can ferment the quail feed.
Yes, you can, and they will enjoy it. They do, So with anything, there's pros and cons. It doesn't matter like what you're talking about. There's pros and cons to everything. There's an exchange.
The con with the quail feed fermenting, it would just be too labor intensive.
Yeah, it just take too much time.
But if I had a covey,
for us,
like if I had a small covey of pets, like 10 or 20 of them, and that was a smaller covey, I'd be like, maybe I'll take the time. Feed them, put a different type of feeder in there because that's not going to spray everywhere. It's not dusty. It's now clumped together because it's a wet feed.
But a big reason why I do put the time and effort towards fermenting feed for our chicken, all of our chickens and our ducks, is because those animals live on the ground. So they're constantly exposed to organisms that are on the ground, and and parasites and such. So I want to make sure that they have robust immune systems, and I have minimal issues with their health. My birds are very healthy because of that. The quail I'm not so concerned about because we have hutch systems, so they're up off the ground.
Not exposed.
They're not exposed to all these different organisms that the chickens are. And also we keep their sand area tidy. So they're generally very healthy. And again, with them, we don't have any health issues either. So that's the big reason why it's such a priority for me to do the chickens and the ducks.
Yeah, it's a fun thing. If you guys have chickens and you're wondering, oh, should I ferment their feed? Just do an experimental batch just for fun. Just, ferment a couple days worth and see how they react.
You could even, if you would like to give your birds fermented feed, but you don't want to commit to, all of their feed fermented, daily, you could always just supplement, feed them what you're feeding dry and then give them a small, a portion daily, and they will love it and they'll still benefit from that too, because you're getting them probiotic food. It's really good for them. So
cool. All right. I think that just about actually does it this time.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you have any comments or questions, feel free to
drop them in.
Drop them in.
We'll, if you're new,
subscribe.
Yeah, hit the sub, give a like, whatever. I don't know. Like I said, my objective on this channel isn't to become a big YouTube guy. It's to give out practical, applicable information like education. See you Saturday. Oh, yeah, we sure will. We're going to be on Verna's channel at Vay's place on Saturday morning at 10. Yeah? Mm-hmm. That'll be fun. Yeah. Yeah, so you guys, information, knowledge, skills acquisition, improve the quality of one's life through these vessels of improvement. And hopefully I can contribute to that somewhat in an entertaining and informative fashion. Okay? Rather than nonsense on the internet. All right, guys. It's been fun. I guess we'll see you next week, maybe.
Yeah.
And we do it every week, unless something with the electric happens. So.
Have a wonderful evening or day, whatever time it is when you see this.
Oh, let's pick one more up before goodbye. Let everybody say goodbye to a Silkie, and then I'm going to click off. Here we go. Say bye, chicken. Bye. All right. See you guys.
Bye.